Everybody, it's Andrew Brown at the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, and we are working to solve the end of our CORS issues. So I handed it over to Bako to say, what are our CORS issues when trying to upload to that S3 bucket? And if we make our way over to our code base, or to our bucket here, what he did is he just added a bucket policy, which, duh, that's what we needed to do. I just didn't realize that. If we go over to our CRUD uploaded avatars, and we go to our properties here, or permissions, probably permissions here, he added a bucket policy. Where is it? I don't see the policy. Just give me 2 seconds. So I can definitely see a bucket policy from Bako here that he shared me, but I don't see it in here. So maybe what he did is he removed it so that we have the opportunity to place it in ourselves. So bucket policies are pretty simple. So let's go ahead and edit this and add it. Block all public accesses off. I don't remember having to turn this off. So maybe Bako did that. Yeah, he probably did that when he was setting up the bucket policy. So that's probably the reason why that was set there. I'm not sure if that has to be off though, because that really relates to bucket policies, but he has it off. I'm not like super concerned about it. We do actually have to upload externally, so I suppose we would have to make sure that is off. Otherwise, I don't know how we would upload. But anyway, what we'll do is go edit here, and we'll do square braces. And we can say curly's here. I'm just typing what's here. Like, we could go find one, but I'm just going to type it because it's not that much to type. So we have allowed headers. Okay, and here he was putting a wildcard saying like any headers are allowed. Which is kind of similar to what we were doing, but we had one for credentials, but apparently he just had it for that. And then we'll do square braces here for methods, and here we are allowing a put. Then we have our allowed origin. So allowed origins, and then this is what we'll need to place in here is the actual URL for our origin. So we have our git pod one. I'm not sure if we can use wildcard here, but let's give it a go. So I'm going to just say wildcard.gitpod.io. Okay. And then we'll go down below here and we'll say expose headers. Because remember that even if we do this, they still have to go through the authentication. Well, I guess, first they have to get a pre-signed URL. So they have to generate one out, and that has to go through authentication. And then once they have a pre-signed URL, then they have permission to upload here. So I think we are okay for that. So anyway, so we'll say that is fine. I think from a security perspective, we are okay. And we will do this. We'll make squares. So we'll say exposed headers. And we have a few here. So we have X, AMZ, server side encryption. And encryption. And again, I'm just typing what I see in this screenshot. It didn't give me the code, so AMZ request ID, and then ZAMZ ID 2. All right, and so this should be a Z server side encryption, server side encryption. I'm just comparing the left and the right to make sure it's correct. Okay. And then the last thing was the timeout here. So we'll just put a comma here and we'll say max age seconds. And it says, is it 30,000 or 3,000? 30,000. 1, 2, 3. And then put that together. And so that's what that looks like to me. The only thing I did different was I put in a wildcard there because it's going to be a pain in the butt if we have to keep updating that. So I definitely don't want to do that constantly. But this looks to be good. I'm not sure if that indicates an error on line 2. I mean, we can just say, it says there's an error down below. We'll click here. The text does not match the expected JSON object. Okay. What is it expecting? We have a curly here and a curly there. I would have loved it if I just got the JSON. And yeah, what's the problem? Data type mismatch. The text does not match the expected JSON data type. What do you mean? Give me a second, okay? Oh, you know why I'm confused? this says bucket policy. Look here. This says cross origin CORS. Okay. So I guess there's an area just for CORS in here. I can't believe I mistake that so poorly. CORS. CORS. Oh, it's already in here. Cool. Well, that's how smart I am. Anyway, what we'll do is go hit edit because there's one thing I do want to change here, and I just want to wildcard this part so my life's a bit easier. I wonder if I could just do this. And I think that should work. And it's goofing around with that bucket policy for no reason. Okay, anyway, I will copy this code. We'll make sure that we have it. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And in our AWS folder here, this is for S3. So I'll just make a new folder here, S3. I'll just say file, API gateway. It's not API gateway, but it's just CORS JSON. I'll paste this in here so that you have one that you can use as well, because I know it's not fun to type that all out. Maybe you were, if you just went a little bit farther ahead in the video. But anyway, we have this file here. I noticed that our front end generated out, but not our back end. Let's take a look here, because we were reworking those scripts to make them a bit better here. So I might have introduced a bug, or it's not even there at all. Here it's up here. Oh, it says front end. So maybe we're generating out the front end twice by accident here, or at least in mine we are. So if we go over to our gitpod file here, yeah, it says front end. So that's why it didn't run. So I'll just fix that there and then just run this here. Enter. And so now we have a front end and a back end. We can do our Docker compose YAML up. So let's say compose up here. And that's going to pull our images. I'll be back here in a moment, okay? All right, so the application is up. We do have to do these usual things where we're doing the bin. I'm sure you've seen me do this so many times by now, you're sick of it. We'll do our DB setup. Remember that we added in the migrate command, so hopefully that just works as expected. We are getting an error here, so that's not great. Let's open up the DB setup. Maybe we were supposed to set that to be... let's see, go here, to be using Python as well, because that's a Python script, right? So we'll just do Python here, and that's what we should have done. And we learn as we go. Okay, yeah, so now that migration happened, that is great. Now we'll do our bin ddb, schema load, and seed. And we'll open this up so we can see our stuff. So we are in good shape here. We'll go ahead and sign in. I'm going to do andrew@exampro.co, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, exclamation mark, sign in. And we'll go back over to profile, edit profile. And so the idea is that we hooked it up last time where one goes to the other, but we have to make sure that this endpoint is the same. It's probably different. So we'll go to our code here, and this is in the profile here, profile form.js. And I was thinking the other day how it makes no sense for us to use ALB in front of API Gateway, because there's no target group that can point to it. And the reason I was like, I really wanted ALB to be in front of API Gateway is because the cost of using ALB is a lot more inexpensive than using at least API Gateway REST. And so I was trying to make that the front runner of both of them. But really what we need is we need everything to go through API Gateway and then go to the ALB. But I don't really want to have to front my load balancer with API Gateway, because right now the ALB just goes to Fargate. I need to, maybe this is questions for Duan. Duan's here in our next class here, but does it make sense to be using API Gateway in front of ALB if most of our workload's on Fargate? Maybe this is more so for service workload, but the thing is that we can just give it a different endpoint. And it would be good for us to have it on a custom domain, I think, but the thing is we named it apicreditor.com. So we're going to have to tear down that API Gateway and put it right back up to solve the second part, but we'll worry about that in a moment. We're always having things to solve, so it's no problem here. So down below, what I'm going to do is go ahead and paste this in as the origin. And I mean, really, the origin is going to be whatever the backend URL is. So that actually is something that we can update here. I'm sure we use it somewhere like processed here. This, I believe, if we go print it out here, or we look at it in our, what is it, env front end. Env front end here. Well, that's the backend URL, 4567, but this is actually 3000, which is our front end application. So really, we actually need to have another one here, which is very similar. We'll just say React app front end URL. Okay, and we'll say 3000. And so instead of doing that, then we can go using that one. We'll use this one here. Get our nice backticks in here. I mean, we don't even need backticks. We're just providing the URL as is. Does this have a trailing forward slash? Because that will mess it up. I don't think so. No, it doesn't. That's good. So I'm just going to go here. It's kind of weird that I have to put the origin here. I would have thought the origin would have passed along in the request, and that we wouldn't have to manually specify it. But what do I know? Like, I thought the origin always is being set, right? Like, anytime you make a request. Origin, does it always get set? Origin head is automatically as origin here. The origin request header indicates the scheme origin that caused the request. For example, if the user agent needs a request resource included a page, etc., etc. So all I know is that that definitely does fix the issue, but why doesn't it happen? Maybe there's like a flag to do like fetch pass origin. Maybe there's like a flag that will automatically set it for us, so I don't have to set this nvar. Origin. Header. Ooh, mode CORS. What you can do is set the client side a set of CORS. All this is the default setting, I believe. However, you still requires the server to enable CORS as well. Check out the CORS documentation. Can we just do this mode CORS? That'd be nice. Mode CORS. Let's just try it. CORS true. I think that's what it was, right? Okay, because like if I don't have to do this, I don't have to pass this environment variable in. My life's a lot easier, right? So we'll go back over here. I mean, I can also just get the origin based on what the URL is, but you might want to explicitly set it in your rendered code, because then I don't know. Anyway, so we have this open here on the left-hand side. We'll go over here. We will go and upload lore as we've been uploading constantly here. And I mean, we get a syntax here, but that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't work. We get a 404. Well, because it doesn't know where to go. Actually, no. Did we set it on the wrong one? Oh, this is the upload. Didn't we have it on the other one? The upload key? Oh, this is the key. Yeah, that's right. So going back over here. S3 upload. Failed to execute fetch on window. PP is undefined. I don't know why I named it PP. That's a terrible name. This is undefined for our put. Okay, well, maybe that doesn't work. So I'm just going to, I guess, manually set it, even though I don't really want to do that. If you're watching this and you find a way where I don't have to pass this environment variable along, bonus points, okay? But we'll go here and we'll just paste this in here. We probably don't even need the backticks or anything, but I'm going to do that anyway, just because whatever. We could probably just do this, is what I'm saying. We'll just do this. We'll simplify it. There we go. And so that will pass in, well, it has to be called front end here. Front end URL. Okay. That's fine. Then we need a URL for the endpoint URL, the API gateway. So we just say like API gateway endpoint URL here. And so this should have not changed. So this should be the same. So I'll cut this out. And then we'll bring this over here. Now, mind you, these are generated out, so we have to update our original one so that it doesn't mess up. I'll remember to do that there in a moment. So go here. I think these all have to say React app in front of them for some reason. There's a reason why, I can't remember. I knew earlier when we were building it before, but, you know, can't keep all that memory in your head. So we'll go ahead and paste this in. And grab this one, React app API gateway endpoint. I know it's super long, but whatever, it works. Make sure this is correct. This looks fine to me. Does that interpret these? I was just thinking about this. Isn't it supposed to generate these out because the envs would not interpret those environment variables? But we weren't seeing any issue there. Wasn't that the whole reason we did that to begin with? So these ones are all generated out. But why isn't the front end one all generated out? Let's go take a look at our herb file. Maybe I didn't finish updating it, and it's been working this entire time, even though it shouldn't. So we'll go into our front end, generate env. No, it's just the herb templates here. Here we go. So let's see here, Gitpod workspace ID. I mean, it looks like we, the back end here. Also, I'm noticing this has a lot more. Oh, this is an example. I'm like clueless today. But anyway, we'll copy these. We'll bring them over here. All right. I've been looking at the wrong file the entire time. I've been looking at that example file, which is not even being used anymore. Let's just delete it so we're no longer confused. Or at least you're probably not confused. It's just me that's confused here today. And I'll delete this because it's not accurate anymore, right? It's not reflective of actually what's going on here. So I'll go ahead and delete this. Well, before I do, I'll grab this one here. And then I'll delete this. And we'll go back over here. Oh, we do have that there. Great. So we'll just adjust this as such. At least I'm recording the correct screen today. So people who have watched the videos or are in the bootcamp know there's been a couple times where I've recorded the wrong screen. And I've had to condense videos from 3 hours to shorter. So there's always some sort of pain here. Okay, so we have this now, which is great. We need to, I guess, set an end bar here probably. Well, we don't actually have to because we do hardcode some of these. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to stick with them and take out the quotations there. That doesn't look right. Why is there an extra one here? Take that one out. And that one doesn't have one on the end. And it doesn't have one in the front. Okay. So now those should be set correctly. We'll have to regenerate out our front end here. So we'll go bin, front end, generate env. And then we'll go down below and we will take a look at our front end React env file, making sure it's generating out correctly. It did not generate out correctly. It ran into an error. It says unexpected operator here. Oh, so we're just missing this part. No big deal. We will go up and regenerate here. And now we should have the correct env file here. So we do. So that is in good shape. And I want to make sure that we replaced the backend endpoint for that here. We did. That's good. Okay, so our endpoints are now corrected. Again, we can leave this one in here, or we can have a nicer domain. Right now it's apicrowder.com, which is not going to work. So we don't think we can rename API gateways. We have to delete them and remake them. So it's really up to us what we want to do here. I probably want to remake it just so that we get more practice setting up API gateway and also just having a nicer name. But anyway, what we'll do here is just do a compose down because we changed the... I don't know if we actually have to do compose down, but I'm going to do compose down just because we changed the environment variables. And then we'll do a compose up just in case it doesn't reload it. I guess it probably wouldn't because it's loaded into the environment, and I don't think it would be smart enough to grab those updated n bars. So just give it a moment, okay? All right, so it seems like we are up and running again here. Let's take a look and go back over here and give this a refresh. And so we'll go ahead and edit our profile. And I guess we should go, before we open anything, we should open up Inspector just so our lives are a little bit easier. I have it open over here. And I would love to get rid of this error, this class name error on, well, actually it says it's on a div. So maybe that actually is something we can solve. I thought it was on a link. Sometimes on links, I don't know what to do for class names for there, and they just never stop complaining. But let's see if we can find it here. I don't see it. Class. Whoops. Really hate when that happens. Profile heading. Where is it? Profile heading. Oh, profile heading. Okay, so profile heading. JS here. Here it is. Actually, there's a few of them. Great, so we'll go back over here. We'll give this a refresh. And just see if we can see fewer errors. I'm kind of getting tired of seeing all this other stuff as well, so let's just keep cleaning stuff up. Console log. That's fine, that's fine. That's fine. I'm looking for the darn effects. This is profile form, line 11. Use effects. Maybe it's at the top here. Here it is. Get rid of that one. I'm tired of seeing the Cognito one, so we can get that one out of here, check off, because that seems to be working correctly. So we'll get rid of this one here and this one here. Yeah, so that should make things a lot less noisy here. We'll give this a refresh. We'll go back over here. And so now I don't see a bunch of junk I don't need to see. We'll go here and hit edit. I'll go ahead and upload this avatar for lore. And it should be uploading. Now, Bako said as soon as he did this, it worked instantly. We didn't save our CORS to be updated. Maybe we did. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go back here. I don't think we hit save yet, did we? Oh, it says we successfully edited it, so I guess we did. Let's go back over here. We did not get back the pre-signed URL. I'm seeing some weird characters here, so maybe something was misinterpreted. So that might be an issue. Let's take a look at network here. And we will go over to our options here. Yeah, I don't think it got back what it wanted. Failed to parse upload key upload. All right, let's go back over here. So it says it couldn't parse it. Let me think about this for a moment. We have this backwards, don't we? Because No, this one uploads to API Gateway, right? No, this is the pre-signed URL. And this is the front-end URL. Oh, and the API Gateway one's supposed to go here. That's our issue. But why it also had those artifacts is a other concern. So let's go take a look at our front-end file here and just see if there's any abnormalities with the one generated out. Notice there's this percentage here. Maybe it was accidentally introduced as a bug when I was typing. So I'll go back to that file up here in herb. Here. And if we scroll to the right, we'll just take that out. Yeah, I guess that was the issue there. So we'll have to stop this and start this back up again. Before we do, we need to put in this one in the right place. So that's the one that actually is going to API Gateway. And we'll do our Docker Compose down. Okay. And then I'll just hit a space there and I'll do a Docker Compose up. I'll be back here when it's up, okay? All right, so we are back up and running here. We're gonna open up our tab here, make our way back to our profile, hit edit, and make sure we have inspector open, unless I already have like a billion open behind here. No, I do not, which is fine. So we'll go here and hit inspect. And well, we got a different error here that I didn't notice. Value on text area should not be null, considering using an empty string to clear the component as defined. I suppose that we could do that to make it happy. I mean, these shouldn't be 0 per se. This would be an empty string like that, and this could be an empty string like that. Maybe that would resolve the issue there. But I guess the other thing is that if it sets the value, then maybe it would still result in that. So I'll give this a refresh. I'll hit edit and then we'll find out. Yeah, it's still complaining. So this has to do with where we set this to set the bio, which is here. So really it should be like if props profile bio is null or equals null. Else. That's all I can think of to make it stop crying here about this problem here. I want to do like an OR, but I don't know if the OR, like this is what I would normally do, like this. Maybe that will work. Maybe I'm just thinking we're using Python. I think we did that in Python, and then I had no confidence in doing that anymore, but we'll give this a refresh and see if that helps. It is not complaining anymore. Hooray! So just trying to clean things up as we go. And we will go ahead and we will attempt to upload lore. If we go back over here to our code, still doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Why? Why doesn't it work? Let's look at the key here. So this looks correct. Avatars. Key upload. Yes, that looks correct to me. But it says 404. So if it's 404, that means there's something wrong. So let's go take a look at our API gateway here. We'll reload this page. I just haven't been on this page in a while here, so we'll go back here and take a look. Oh, it's changed. So I guess it changed at some point. We'll go here and update this. This is why I kind of want to put it on a domain, a subdomain, and tear it back down. So we'll go back over here and we'll paste it in here. Sorry, we'll do this. And I'll do it down and I'll do it up and I'll see you back here in a moment, okay? So we'll do it down. And we'll do it up. And I'll be back here in just a moment. All right, so let's back up. Let's go back over here. We'll give it a refresh and we'll hit edit profile and we will attempt to upload lore again. And we'll go check our API endpoints. Ooh, caution, request is not finished. We still don't get that back, which is great. I forgot why we had to change our environment variables. There's something we did in there. Oh, right, because the actual endpoint had changed. And so if we go over to here, to our endpoint for API gateway, we have a CORS issue, but I think it's because that Lambda that we have has to return the correct stuff back. So if we go back over to API Gateway, or not API Gateway, but we open up Lambda, I think we have another problem on our hands. I told you you're gonna hate CORS by the end of this boot camp. CORS is terrible. Like, it's obviously does its thing, but just having to work with it and look it in the eyes. I can't stand CORS. We'll go here, and so this is the endpoint that's in here right now. So we'll go back over here, and we will grab this part here. Okay. Where did the endpoint go? Over here. Over here. There we are. And we'll just go ahead and grab this and paste it in here. Is that the same? That can't be the same because this is a new environment. It changed, right? Why does it look the same? Interesting. I'll give this a refresh again, just making sure I'm not losing it here. And we'll copy this, and we'll go back over here. Did it change? I'm going to refresh here. Maybe it changed and I just didn't notice. So I didn't save it or deploy it yet, so it should still have the old code. I'll go back over here. Just carefully watch. No, it's the same one. So why do I have CORS issues? Why does it work for Baco, not for me? I'm just trying to think here. The only thing that we changed in API Gateway was that, well, that's for the S3 CORS, for the pre-signed URL, but we never had problems doing that before, right? What could have changed? I don't know. This is interesting. Let's go back over here. Let's just refresh this just one more time and try it again. CORS. We'll go back over here. And still have a CORS error. And this was something that worked before fine, right? This avatar's key upload. This was fine before. We're passing the bearer token along, so that is fine. This is the preferred, whatever. Did we, don't we have to pass the origin along? Is the origin still there? I don't see an origin header here. Unless it doesn't show up here. Let's go over here for a moment and take a look at our form. Back in URL. The origin should be the React React app frontend URL, which we can double check to make sure it is what it's supposed to be. That's all I can think of, because that was the major thing that we needed for it to work before, where it was giving us issues. So we'll go over here. We'll take a look at this. I'm gonna make sure this is named the same. Oh, it still has that darn thing. Oh boy. It's not gonna reload that, so I have to stop and start the app. Well, we'll try for fun. I don't think it reloads because there's no way it can load the reload the end bars like that. No. So I think that's the issue, is that one little thing was introduced. Yeah, so we'll down and we'll start it up again, but you can see how you have to be very thorough to check all of your stuff to make sure you don't have any issues there. So I'm going to go back to here and say Docker compose down. I know it should already be down. We'll run that again just in case. Yeah, I didn't actually down it, and we'll do compose up. And I'll see you back here in a moment again. Okay, so we've started it up again, and we know we have our stuff set correctly here, and we'll give it a go and see if this works. And do we have it? Do we have it? Please, just work. We'll just inspect this URL here. So this one's the old one. This one's the old one. Oh, you know what? I think we updated our our end file, we didn't generate it out. Okay. Last time we have to do this. Generate the environment variable file. And we did front end, right? So we go here and we'll check it. And this shows, yeah, now the updated one. All right, so I know you must be getting sick of this, but we'll do compose down. And I'll do compose up, and I'll see you back here again. Okay, so I think all of our endpoints are correct now. We'll go back and refresh, edit profile. We'll go here, we'll update lore JPG. Still doesn't work. At least we're getting a 404, so it's getting a little bit better. It looks like it's returning the correct endpoint. It has to, like, the URL has to be wrong if it says 404. So we have to just carefully look at what's going on here. So we'll go back over to API Gateway. This is the endpoint here. This is what we have here. 0p1 amk execute etc. Amazon.com. That's correct. What about the rest of the endpoint? And we did have this API thing here before with the thing, so this shouldn't be affecting it whatsoever. We'll go over to our APIs. Oh, but this one's that one. Well, what the heck is this? Oh, were we on the custom domain and we went here? Oh, dang it. Okay, so now we have to go back over to this one, and we have to use this one. Now, did this change? It doesn't look like it's changed. No, I don't think it's changed at all. But the other question is, like, what is our routing? It's just avatars, key upload, post. Okay. All right. Let's update this again. Well, I'll paste this in. This one is updated. This should work. I'll double check over here. This should work. Backend URL, API Gateway URL. Yep. So I'm going to just rename this so I don't get confused. So I'm going to say Gateway URL and Gateway URL. And we'll stop it and start it, and we'll try it again, and we'll just stare at it till we figure it out. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll stare at it. I'll probably after this, because I thought this would be easy, right? I thought it would just work. But anyway, I'll be back here in a second. Okay. Okay. So I talked to Baco just to walk through it to see if I was missing something, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my code here," because I was like, I was getting here, and it was saying 404. Now it's saying CORS, right? And so what I did was, I showed him. I was like, look, I got this one, and I copy paste. He's like, look, this is different. So if I copy here, right click copy, right click paste, it's not pasting in. So that's why I thought it was the same. I thought if I paste it, I just see that it would change. And so for some reason, it's not pasting in. Not sure why. Maybe it'll work with Command V. Right click paste does not work. So silly. Okay, great. Well, that's our problem. That's definitely our problem. Okay, so all that goofing around for that. Use Control V here. Do not right click and paste because apparently it doesn't work, or it's not working at least right now. So we'll go ahead and deploy this. And successfully deployed. Great, thanks a lot. And we'll go back over here, and I'll go ahead edit profile, and we will go ahead and make sure we have this open, and I will select this, and we'll say open. And if we go over here, oh look, now we have a pre-signed URL, and now it's going to attempt to upload to S3. So here for S3, it is sending the data. I mean, there's an error for this part. So it says unexpected end of JSON input. Did it fail? It doesn't look like it failed. And unexpected end of JSON input. Maybe there's an issue with our code. So anyway, it looks like it's working. We'll go back over here. There's this curly, and there's this curly. So just to make this a little bit easier for me to see, I'm just going to bring the indentation so they're at the right level. So that's right, that's right. And here it just says res.json await. Oh, so it's saying it got output back. There's no JSON per se, or at least not like that. So what I'll do here, and we did notice that like if we didn't get, well anyway, we'll do a console log and see if we go back here. And we'll try this again. Because I want to see what that object is. I'm not really sure what it is. We'll go here and do lore. And we'll go back here and did it output it? I don't see it outputted. Let's make that even more clear. I'm just going to go here and say res. And we'll go back over here, refresh. We'll edit, and we'll choose this again. And we'll choose lore. So here's the response type. So we get back a response. It says okay. There are no errors. So, I mean, we just copied and pasted code. There's not necessarily that it's returning JSON back. There's no reason for it to do that. And so I guess if it's an okay, then it's worked. So what we can do is go back here and just modify our code because there is no data to look at, or at least no JSON data. There's a body. I don't know what's in the body. So we could go here and just do .body and see what we get. Well, hold on. Sorry, this part's correct. Sorry, I'm messing up our wrong code. This part is totally fine. The part that is not working is over here. So then why were we looking at this line? Maybe we were just confused by this very similar line here. And so what I'll do here is go console log res2 res, and we'll see what we get back. Sorry for the mix-up, because that one was returning back a body. If this one's returning a body, let's just do .body on it and see what we get. And we'll try this again. And we'll go here. Today's just like me being confused. Okay, so down below here we have a readable stream locked equals false. So what does that mean? It's streaming data? I guess it's type CORS, that's cool. Readable stream. I don't know what we're looking at. I'll be back in a second. My research did not yield anything useful, but the thing is we're getting back a readable stream. I'm not really sure what we would want to do with this. But my thought was that maybe if it wasn't done, like it was still trying to do stuff, because like when you have stream, you're streaming data. So my concern is that I'm not sure if this is when it's actually finalized or not, but I think it is. So what we'll do here is we'll just take out this part and are we on the second part here? Yep. And I guess when we're done here, we're just done. Is this just repeating what's up here? Yeah, because we copy pasted it earlier. So I'll go here, and this is what happens when it's done. It needs to do something. So what do we want it to do? That's a good question. I'm just going to take out this one here and this one here. Just take out all these older ones here, just cleaning up a bit. So yeah, now what do we want to happen? That's the question. I mean, I guess we'd want to, the pop-up should close, that's for sure. Did we do that earlier? No. We are in the profile form, so, well actually no, because we need for it to submit to happen, right? So the idea is that we've uploaded it, but it would take effect right away without even us submitting the form. So like if you wanted to, like from a UI or the UX perspective, you probably should have it when you hit the save button that it actually saves the avatar. But the thing is that as soon as it goes in that bucket, it's going to process it and add it in there. So I don't think there's much we can do about that. But we do want to, I guess, see it displayed. But we can actually display it as a preview image URL up here. So we can actually preview it before we've even uploaded it, which might not be right. I'm just thinking about this for a second. We don't necessarily have to trigger this part until we hit the submit. So right now we're doing it like back to back, but we could actually just preview the image, and then when they hit save, then trigger this part as part of the other one. So I'm not 100% sure what I want to do here, but I do know that the avatar is being loaded, so I'm not really that overly concerned about it. And I said before, like with CloudFront, we could put a Lambda or like a Lambda there, and then if there is not an image, then we would just serve up a default one. So I think this is implementation we'll leave for later, because this is more like cleanup and making it work nice. But for the time being, this thing is technically uploading. What matters is the format that we upload that file in. So right now we are just calling it mock JPG or whatever. It's like hard coded into the value. But what I want this to be is actually the Cognito user ID, because that's what we have readily available. So I guess we need to change this Lambda accordingly so that that will work. So I'm just thinking about this for a second. So we have our object key here, and we want to get some event data, but we aren't grabbing any event data right now. Let me think about it. All right, so right now we don't know what kind of event data is being passed because it would show up here. We are logging stuff out, but I don't think we really pass any event data. So what we'll do is we'll go back over to the S3 key upload, because this is the function that actually is passing stuff along. And in here, we need to pass along some data. So I'm just trying to think where we've done another post or put. Probably create message would be one. Or whoops, like message form, message form. Even activities form would be useful here. If we scroll on down, we have this body JSON stringify. So what we'll do is try to pass along some body JSON data like this. And where is this JSON here? Oh, we stringify it, so we just take an object. Okay, great. So we'll go here and just say constant JSON. And the idea is that we want to pass along some data about the file in question. So one thing we need to know before we get our upload key back is we need to know the extension that it's going to be. And then the other part of it is we need to know the Cognito user ID. Or we could also call it sub. It's the same thing. Whatever is going to be easier for you to go with. I'm just going to call it sub. No, I'm going to be explicit and call it the Cognito user ID. It's a UUID, so I don't know if we updated it other places to be a UUID, so I'm just going to write it in like that now. If it's just ID other places, sorry for the inconsistency, but sometimes it's too hard to go back and change that. And so here we have file type, because the first thing that happens is we attempt to upload the image, and then it's here. So we need here the pass in the Cognito user UUID is one thing, and the other thing we want to pass in is the extension. We can get the extension very easily. We just go split on the period, and then we just want to assign this to file parts, and I just want the last one, so let's say file parts, so constant here, constant extension, and it'll be file parts dot length. Well, we'll do square braces here, file parts dot length. The idea is that it should get us the last one, -1, because we're counting from 1 for length, and the array starts at 0, so we have to offset it by 1 there, and so that will pass that over. We still need our Cognito user UUID. At this point, we would have the user somewhere, right? But it'd have to be passed into the profile form, so we need to go to its parent, which is in the user home feed page, I suppose, user feed. And in here, we'll have the user. So we need to pass down the user. Now, I'm trying to remember why we had to use the Cognito user ID. Why did we want to use that? Because maybe that's the only data we have available at the time. And actually, do we even have to get it through there? Well, we have the access token, right? So the access token would include the sub, but if we have it there as well, I suppose we could grab it that way. I'm trying to remember why I said it had to be the Cognito user ID. Let me just think about it for a second. I don't know. I think I might have been mistaken. I think that when we were sending it to JWT, I thought like we would get it from the JWT and pass it along to the Lambda function. I don't think the JWT data is being passed along. It's being processed at that JWT step, so I don't know how that would be accessible to the Ruby Lambda. So maybe we should just explicitly pass the UUID. The only thing is that then you could set somebody else's, because if we don't get the Cognito user ID from the JWT token, then how do you know the value being set here is the same thing? So I guess that's something we do actually have to figure out, but I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, so I'm back again. I was just talking to Beko about like how to go about solving it, because the thing is that when we upload here, you get the pre-signed URL, it first goes to that JWT verification thing. And so I was thinking, well, at that point, it takes the our access token, decodes it, so we have those claims. In there, we have the sub, which is our user Cognito ID, or UUID, and we can use that. So I was hoping that it would pass it along. So if we go back over to our functions here, we look into the CRUD avatar upload, and we go to monitor, and we look at our logs here, we'll see what we have. So what we have here, because we log out the events, we go down below here, we click into the last one that ran, we have event data. And so one thing that I noticed right away is we have options and posts. So this is actually, every time it does options and posts, it goes to the same place. It doesn't need to both go there. All options has to do is return the CORS data. And so right now it's probably actually triggering the pre-signed URL twice, even though we don't need it to do that. So we can create an additional Lambda just for the CORS, or we can make conditional code in our function to only return CORS in there. It might make more sense to do conditional, because then it's almost like warming the Lambda before it actually does the real call. So I'm kind of keen to actually do that as opposed to having a separate Lambda, because then we have two Lambdas starting up, which seems a bit silly to me. So I think we need conditional core to check based on the options. The other thing is, like, if you look at what's being passed along, at this point here, I don't see the bearer token. We don't need it at this point, but in this, or any data, like anything from the JWT. So here, I was hoping that maybe it would pass some kind of data along, or I could look up how to pass data from the JWT to here, like what's been decoded. But I couldn't find anything. All I can find is this bearer access token. So we could ask ChatGPT, because I've had no luck in the documentation. My session has expired. No problem. And we'll see if it can figure out anything for us. I don't think there is a way. I think you have to decode it twice. But we'll write something here. So how do I pass data from my JWT, or my authorizer Lambda from API gateway to the target Lambda? So here we have the Lambda proxy integration. The Lambda function can access this information So he says, when you use the authorizer Lambda function, it is responsible for authenticating and authorizing incomes. Once the authorizer has validated the request, it can pass the authorization information to the target Lambda. That's what I want to do. Using the Lambda proxy integration, with this approach, the authorizer function can return a JSON response that includes authorization key value pair in the header object. The value should be a string containing the authorization information. The target Lambda can access the information via the events object's headers. Using context object. When invoking the target Lambda, you can pass additional context object as a parameter. When invoking the Lambda target. Oh, there's the context. So that's actually something that I never ever bother with or touch, but maybe it actually has data in there that's valuable. So maybe we don't have to decode it twice, because that's my concern, is that if I have that access token, I have to decode it twice. I really don't want to do that. Another thing, I mean, we haven't looked at it at all, but if you're just curious, we can go take a look here and see our authorizer logs here, just so you can see what it's doing, just so you know that it's actually happening. One concern I had was that over here, this is like authorizer, it's like authorization auth. Here it's like lambda nil, as if it's not doing it, but it definitely is running through the JWT. So I'm not sure about that, but I'm pretty certain it's going through our JWT here, and you can see what it's doing. So it gets the bearer token, so it's clearly doing stuff, right? Access allowed, JWT payload. So that's the sub. This is the thing that we're trying to get. But let's go back over here, and I didn't even think of this. Let's just go log out. Maybe ChatGPT has helped us here, which normally it's not useful, but in this case it might be. So this is the authorizer function. That's not what I want right now. I want the other one. Another thing that Bako did just before we go and modify this code is he added another log group. So he called his API gateway Bako. And so this was another way for him just to like debug API gateway. And so what he did was he turned on logging on API gateway to get that stuff. If we go over to API gateway here, we can probably see it. If we go to, give it a moment here, into here, and there's like a global logging, I think. I don't think you log it at this level. We're going to APIs. I remember the old UI, not the new one here. But he turned on logging for API gateway. I'm just trying to find out where he did it. Maybe it's in the default here. How did you do it, Bako? Oh, down here, logging. Okay, so he enabled it for the default stage, and that's where we were getting that other step of debugging. So that's just another way. That's how he was able to solve the GWT to make sure stuff was going by. So that's something else he turned on. You don't have to turn it on, but if you find it useful, you can for some reason. But anyway, the question is like, what is being passed in the context? Because we don't even log that out. So we'll go back over to our Ruby Lambda. And we have context right here. So I'm going to go here and say puts context. And I'll go up here and just say puts context, puts event. And maybe we already have the data. It'll make our lives super, super easy. So go back to our application. I'll refresh here. And we'll go back here and we'll attempt to upload here. And I should have inspector here on the right-hand side. We did change some of these things, but all I care about is the pre-signed URL. And I believe that works. So it's just part of it worked, the part that we wanted to work, which was sending a request to the endpoint there. Or did it? Did we break it? Hold on, let's go back to our code. S3 key upload. Actually, no, this is the one we're trying to pass data along to it. So, I mean, we will need the extension information, so we should pass that along. So I'm going to just go here and type in extension and extension. I'm also just going to log that out to make sure that's what it is. ext extension. We do not want to pass along We do not want to pass along the user ID because that makes no sense anymore. So we'll go down back to our upload. Where was it? Oh, this is a different file. That's why it's not working. And there's a place where we call this right here. So I'm going to take out this part here. And we'll go back over to creditor. We'll give this a refresh. And we'll attempt this again. We'll try lore. And we are getting an extension, which is great. That's what we want. And it doesn't seem like it's erroring out, which is great. Now the question is, what did we get in the context for our logging? So we'll go back over here and just close this one out. We'll make sure we're on the right one. We'll go to monitor. We'll view the logs. And we'll go down below here. We'll click into it. And now we get context, Lambda context. Great. What is that? That doesn't help me. So Lambda, like what in Ruby when using or passing along in a Ruby Lambda for AWS, what is inside the Lambda context? Is an object that provides information about the execution environment function. So function name, version, ARN, memory, AWS request ID, identity. That sounds like what we might want. So an object that contains information about the AWS IAM user role that invoked the function. That's probably what we want. Object contains information about the client application. So let's try to see if we can get anything for identity. Let's also look up this function here. Lambda context Ruby AWS. It really just grabbed it from this page. So information about the Amazon Canadian identity that authorized the request. I mean, that's what we want. So I don't know if we have to call multiple functions here. So we'll go back over to API Gateway, wherever it is. Where'd you go? To the code. I want the code here. And just remember, we're changing the code, so we will have to go back and paste this into our other place so we don't lose it. So for context, we have this. And I'm just going to place it twice here and do inspect. Sometimes inspect gives us better data. Context. Identity. And I think that it has a function on this, so I'm just going to go down below here and just see if I can try to call it without any issues here. I need the sub function, so it's function name. I want things like cognito identity ID, things like that. But this is identity, like identity ID, identity pool ID. They're in a user pool, so I'm not sure what we get back for that. So maybe we'll run this and just find out. We'll go back over here and deploy. And we'll go back over here and give it a refresh. We'll attempt to upload again. We will try lore here. We will go back over to our logs here. And we will give this a refresh. It might still show up in the same logs if we were quick enough. I'm looking for context identity. I don't see it. We'll go back over here. Maybe it's triggered into a new one. And yeah, we're seeing context identity. Notice that we are getting nothing, nil, nil. I don't think it's context identity because that's for identity pools. We're using a user pool. So let's go back over and read this here and see if it was just misleading. Once the authorizer has validated the request, it can pass the authorized information to the target. So using Lambda proxy integration, I mean, that's what we're doing. With this approach, the authorizer function can return a JSON response that includes an authorization key value pair in the header object. The value should be a string that contains the authorization information. The target Lambda function can then access information from the events object headers properties. That's just, we already have that. That means we have to decode it again. I don't want to have to decode it. When invoking the Lambda function, you can pass additional context object as parameters. No request context, because this says API Gateway here, right? So API Gateway request context objects include various properties that describe the incoming request, including the authorization information. The target Lambda function can then access information using the event request context. Did we see that in our logs here? We do. Account ID, app ID, domain name, domain prefix. Not really useful. Not useful at all. So I think we actually do have to decode it. That sucks. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to do that. So the question is, how do we easily decode a JWT? So Ruby decode JWT. I'm not sure. I don't think it's built into Ruby. I think this is, yeah, that repo there. So Ruby implementation, if you have further questions. So yeah, we have the payload and then we just decode it. Okay. So I guess we'll have to redeploy our function for that. We'll go over here and just grab our latest code that we have. This is kind of useless, so I'll just go ahead and grab this out of here. Okay, and then I'll just grab all this code here. I'll make my way back over to our Lambda into our CRUD upload avatar. I'm going to paste this in, and I know this stuff is hard-coded. I do not care. Make sure to swap yours out because you can't just use that as is. We should still need conditional code here based on whether it is using, what do you call it, an options or etc. So we might as well figure that out while we're doing this. Here in the log groups, it is showing the route key. I really only care about the method, to be honest. I wonder if we can just extract out the method. Here we have this one here has this one, but we don't see the same one down here. So I guess what we have to do is grab this code here because we'll need the route key. And I'll just go up here and say, you know, if route key, oops, event route key equals this, then do that. Else do this. So here it doesn't have to return any body. There's no body to be returned. And I believe it just wants to have us return the headers like this in the first case. I got that backwards. Okay, so this is for CORS. So return CORS headers for pre-flight check. Say print, or yeah, print pre-flight CORS check. And then down below here, this will be print generate, what do you call it? Generate. And actually something, I haven't been doing this, but if you really want to make this, because like the thing is that these CloudWatch logs can be ingested in other things. And if you want to take advantage of searching, what you can do is turn this into like JSON objects. And then we could query them later. So here I could say like value here, or message. And I could say something like step, pre-flight. And that just makes it for much better data later on. So inspect here. This is specifically for Ruby, and it's not print, it's puts. There is a print, but it won't have a new line, so that's kind of annoying. So I'll go here, and this one will be pre-signed URL. Generate the pre-signed URL. Okay. So there's that. So I'm just trying to think here because we have our gem file over there, but so far we've been just able to upload everything without having the gem file lock or the gem lock file. Because the only other thing we need is JWT. It might already be bundled in with it. So Ruby runtime, AWS default gems. So I don't know what it comes with. So that's what I'm thinking. Is that there's probably some gems it comes with by default. It might already have JWT, which would be really nice. So that's kind of a second step, but we'll go here and just type in require JWT and see if we can utilize that anyway. We'll just work through the errors. So if we go back over here in our first function, our options, it's not going to have it. In our second one, we will have that bearer token. So we'll go bearer here, authorization over here. And I'll go back over to here and I just want the key like that. So let's say puts like that. What else is going on there? So we want to split it on the space because the second part will be the token. So I'll just say split and then we'll put a space in between here and I'll take 1 and this will be the access token or just token. Here, the first one is, so it's going to be down here where it actually has it. I'll just say puts access token. Actually, I can just do this, the access token. That'll be more useful for us. And then what we need to do is decode that. So we'll go back to like JWT, Ruby, decode. And we'll go here and grab this decoded token. I'll put it after here just in case it errors out. And then we can just say puts decoded token because I don't know what the contents will be. I'm going to assume it's just a JSON object or not JSON object, a hash. Hashes are dictionaries. They're like dictionaries for Ruby. And so I'll say just inspect so I can see its content. And I'll just go here and say puts decoded token. Okay. And we'll copy the contents here. I expect this to error out on the JWT because we don't have our gem file here because we have to kind of include that code there, but we will give this a go and see if it will work anyway. And I'll paste this in here. Whoops. There we go. And we'll hit deploy. Have to remember to do the control V because the right click paste does not work. We can also like upload the zip here and it will dump all the code in here. So we'll try that second, but let's just see if this works. Because again, I think that there are some libraries that are bundled into the runtimes, but we'll see what we can do here. We could also use the Lambda layer, but I don't remember how to use them, so and I don't want to figure it out. So we'll click that there. It should process it. We're getting a 500 error. That's totally fine. We probably expected that, unless we introduce some other problems. So we'll go up here. Unexpected error, line 9. It says syntax error, which is no surprise. Line 9 here. I don't see one on line 9. Here, this would return the last thing, so this is totally fine as well. I'm going to go back over here and try to make sense of the error here. Error unexpected colon. Expecting a closing curly brace there. No, I mean, that should be fine. Let me think about it 1 second. Okay, but here also it says there's a missing end. I went over and asked ChatGPT if it could spot it, and it also said there's a missing end. There's a missing n keyword at the end of the handler method. This could result in syntax error for sure. It was saying there's a syntax error here. The issue with puts is that a method for printing output to the console, not a hash to an object. Oh yeah, there shouldn't be a puts here. That's definitely wrong. Actually, yeah, I was surprised it actually spotted that stuff, but down here, this definitely is not supposed to be a puts event. That was looking like it was an authorizer, but I don't think so. If we go back over to our event data, I'm just going to go back one step to see what that structure should be. I didn't see headers in here. Oh, yeah, they're right. It actually should be headers. Okay. So this one is supposed to be headers as well. Thank you, ChatGPT. Just don't use my company data for anything. That's one of the things you have to consider, is that even though it is helping me, it could also be a problem if you are working for your company and it's doing something you don't want it to do. Now, it said one of the ends is missing. I don't see that because we have an if statement here and we have a def here. There's also missing end keyword at the end of the handler method. This could result in a syntax error. How? There's two. So like this one's for the if, right? And then this one is for def handler. Am I crazy? Like I'm missing something still? Let's go ahead and at least bring this code over and see what happens if we run that. We'll get rid of this authorizer function so we're not getting mixed up. I'll go ahead and paste this in. We'll go and run it. Now, it could be possible that I just forgot to paste in the end, and it actually does exist in our local code. But we'll go back over to Crutter, and we'll just give it a refresh. Not that we need to refresh the page, and we will attempt this again. And we'll go back over to our CloudWatch logs. We'll go here. We'll click on the first one, and we now have that colon issue still. Unexpected comma. It is really complaining. Let me stare at this for a second, okay? All right, so what I did is I just opened up IRB. IRB is the interactive Ruby. And so I was just trying the original one here because I thought maybe it was because it did not like that there was no parentheses around it. There's some edge cases where parentheses might matter. But I think the real issue is that it wanted this to be to JSON. Inspect can be used to print out objects, but in this case, just the one-liner, it's not liking it. I did just do this a second ago. If we give it parentheses here, try this. I mean, I just had it working 2 seconds ago. What did I do? Oh, it probably does work. I just probably have to require JSON like this and hit up. And so now it's returning correctly. So I think this is fine. It just has to be switched over to JSON. And just because I'm paranoid, I'm going to put parentheses around it. I don't think we need the parentheses. But just in case it complains, let's do that. And so I think this will resolve our syntax issues. We'll go back over here. We will update our code. We will deploy again. We will go give this another go. So we'll go back to our app, give it a refresh, even though we don't need to. We'll go to edit profile. We'll click choose file. We'll go ahead and upload. We'll go back over here. We'll take a look. 500, that's totally fine with the errors because we did change quite a bit in our code. We'll go back over here. We'll go into our log stream. We'll take a look here. Cannot load such file JWT. That's totally fine. So what we'll do is go to our gem file and we'll say gem JWT. The only thing is like aux is not what I really want to have in there because aux is, well, I don't know. It depends on what is pre-installed on that Ruby runtime. So what gems are pre-installed on the AWS Lambda Ruby runtime? because it has to have something for parsing, right? It says JWT is there. Okay, so then following AWS Lambda Ruby runtime as of September 2021. So JWT is already there. Concurrent Ruby, mini test, rake, test unit, stuff like that. Can you show the source link? Go over here. We'll go back over here, ask it again. Can you show the source link where it shows about what is pre-installed for gems? Not really helping me too much there. Okay, well, it says JWT is there, but it definitely isn't because it's complaining about it, right? We'll go back over to our documentation here. Cannot load such file JWT. AWS Ruby Lambda. Because it seems like a really basic one that should be there. I'll go investigate and I'll be back, okay? All right, so my major concern was about aux, or because I'm not that concerned about putting JWT in the gem file, but the thing is that when you have some libraries that need native extensions, those native extensions need to be already available. Otherwise, we have to create a Lambda layer, which I don't want to do. But here it says, as of 2021, the Lambda runtime environment does not pre-install an XML parser. If your Lambda needs one, you choose XML such as Nokogiri or aux. To include the gem in your deployment, you can use a package manager. Once you've created your package, you can upload it to AWS, configure it. Note that the exact list of pre-installed gems and runtimes change, etc. So I'm hoping that there's no complications here, but I put in the JWT, and so what we'll do is I'll just type exit here as an IRB here for a moment. We'll go over to AWS, we'll go into Lambdas, and I'll go into the CRUD upload avatar. We'll do a bundle install here. And then the next thing what I'm going to do, once this is done installing, it's just going to lock the files. That's all we're waiting for it to do. So we'll give it a second. And we want to just download the contents here. So remember before it didn't download where I wanted it to be, but I'll go ahead and say download. And yeah, we'll say allow. I would like it to tell me where they download to before they do that. It probably goes to your downloads. And that's definitely where it is right now. So here I have those 3 files. So what we can do is go and zip them. So I'm just going to go ahead and zip them. Send to compressed. And we'll just say Ruby Lambda. And we'll make our way back over to our CRUD application. I'm going to go ahead and upload that from here, zip, upload, and we will just choose this here. So where are we? Downloads, Ruby Lambda, and we'll hit save. And it should show in line because the code is so small. That's okay. Right, and yeah, the function is named correctly, so we are in good shape there. Let's go ahead and, well, we updated it, but did it deploy it? I'm just going to put anything on there just to make sure it deploys. I'm sure it already deployed, but just in case it didn't, let's just do that redundantly. And now let's go see if we get the same error. We'll go edit. We'll say choose file. We were on our desktop here. We'll take lore. We will go back to here. We'll look at monitor. We'll check out our logs. We already have a tab open. We just go back here. It's easier. And cannot load JWT. Is that true? I don't trust any of these logs. I'm going to go delete them all so I can see what I'm doing. Get out of here, logs. Okay, great. And so now we'll go back here, try this again. Okay, I'll go back over to here. I'll give this a refresh. We have new logs. Do not tell me JWT. It is there. Cannot load such file JWT. You're crazy. You have the gem file. What else do you want from me? We'll go back over here. We'll go to code. Require JWT. Why does it say .txt? Okay, what? All right, let's just rename this. I mean, I guess it is a txt, but it doesn't have an extension like that. We'll deploy it again. Maybe it didn't pick it up there. We will try this again. So we'll go back and refresh. And we will try to upload lore. We'll go back to our logs. We will see what we have. This one's here. Just in case it's lying to us, let's delete these out. Delete, delete. We will try this again. We'll refresh. We'll say save. We will go back and refresh here. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, maybe we should use the path flag because I guess technically they're not contained in the same place. Let's go take a look here and see if we get better options here. There's the Lambda layers. To create a Lambda layer which can make your deploys faster and be organized, I guess we could do one. I just don't want to make a Lambda layer. Let me read a little bit about it, okay? I haven't done one in a while. All right, so I found an example of someone making a Lambda layer because you have to generate them out. They have a make file, and that's something we could have been using our make files, but don't feel like using it. And so what they're doing is that they are building for Ruby 2.7 here. I don't know what the -ni flag does. I assume it's going to place it in that directory. I don't know what the -m flag is for. So, you know, we can look at those things up. So we'll go here. And what does the -m flag do here? Is used to format the output command by separating each item with a comma. Okay, I don't think I need that. So I think that's step one, and then they package it. So here there's license, make file, readme file. Oh, exclude these out of here, and then only put in what's here, and zip it into there. So I think that shouldn't be too hard. So what I'm gonna do is go back over here, and I guess we can make a new folder here called new folder. Here we'll just say Ruby Lambda layers. And that will be the directory we just kind of goof around in here. Ruby Lambda layers. And let's see if we can do what they're doing here. So the first thing they do is they do a gem install with this ni flag. I'm going to ask also what those flags are. What is the n and I flag for? What does the ni flag do here? A gem without generating any documentation in the context there. Disables generation of RDocs. The flag sets the installation directory. Okay, that makes sense. So basically it's just installing to a specific spot. So what we'll do is make a... I'll make a new script here somewhere. So this is for what? This is for the Lambda. Make a new folder here, Lambda layers. It'll just say new file here. Ruby, what are we doing here? Ruby JWT. And there's a few commands I want from here. Where did that file go? Where did it go? Ah, here it is. So pretty simple. We'll grab this one here, paste it in. And then there's some zipping going on around here. Be nice to get some zip info. I wouldn't mind that. Do we have zip info here? We do. Do we have zip? We do. Hopefully all the commands are the same. When you're using Linux, it can vary based on what you're using, so it might not always be the same. We need our bin bash script here, so we'll bring that up to the top here. We'll paste that in. I want to be able to see what I'm doing here, so I'm going to do chmod u plus x here, and we will do bin. That's not where we are right now, so I guess I'll just cd back a few directories. Let's just say bin. And you know what? We don't really need to have this folder over here. That's actually kind of silly now that I'm thinking about it. We'll just make a temp directory and we'll put it in there. So we'll say bin Lambda layers Ruby. We're doing chmod on that, right? U plus X. Ruby JWT. Okay. And we want to install JWT. And we do want it in a Ruby directory, but I'm going to put it in temp. There should be a temp directory here, and the idea is that then we'll be able to work with this. We'll say Lambda layers as well. Lambda layers. Ruby JWT. Okay. Then we can cd into this directory. So we'll just cd into here as such. And then now we can do it in this context. There isn't going to be README license or any of this stuff here. It's really just going to be this. So it does period and the / period. I'm not sure why it has both, maybe just to catch them. And then we'll get that information here. Lambda layers. Usually -r is for recursive. What does the -r flag for zip do? Recursively add files. Okay, that's fine. I think that'll be fine, but I don't know what the name of it will be. So we'll just type in clear here, and we'll run each of these. Well, we can just actually run this and see what happens. I don't think it's that dangerous to run. And this will be Lambda layers Ruby JWT. Okay, so it installed the gem. And then I assume it printed stuff out. It didn't complain about anything. Let's just go and do an ls in the temp directory here. Temp Lambda layers JWT. And now we have a zip. The zip is called Lambda layers. Not exactly what I wanted it to be called, but that's totally fine. I do need to kind of like download this or do something with it. I guess we could use the CLI to upload a Lambda layer. So we could say like, AWS CLI Lambda layers. We'll just ask ChatGPT. Write using the AWS CLI code to upload a Lambda layer for Ruby 2.7 with provided zip file. So it says here, to upload a Lambda layer using the AWS CLI, you can use the publish version command. You don't have to do anything else though. Kind of feels like you do, right? We'll go over here and we'll just look at layers. Layer. All I see is publish version layer, so it looks like that's what it is. We'll open up the documentation here. Creates a Lambda layer. Okay, same thing from a zip archive. So yeah, I guess that would work. So we'll go ahead and grab that. I think this is okay. If not, we'll find out pretty fast. So we have our Lambda layer. What we want to call this is just like JWT. Lambda layer for JWT. I don't care about the licensing here. We want to provide this to a zip. Can we not just give it a zip file like here? The path to the zip file of the contents. You're uploading the zip file contents, but not both. For example, file B contents. So that's what I want to do. ChatGPT wasn't exactly right. We'll do this. This will be Lambda layers here. I wonder if this is the name and we could change anything. Like this -r is actually not related to this. That's probably what this is the name of it. Which is fine, we can leave it alone. We'll take this out here. And I think that this is what we need for it to work. What we can do here is just go into that directory. I'm just going to go somewhere else. And we'll just cd into this directory. And let's just see if this works. Paste that in. Fingers crossed. Zip file, did I spell that wrong? Yeah, I missed a hyphen in between there. And we'll go here. And we'll paste it in. And we'll hit enter, fingers crossed. Still doesn't work. Unknown command zip file. What are you talking about? Did it not copy? Copy, paste. Enter. It's hanging, so that might be good. There we go, it uploaded the context. Cool. Okay, now let's go back over to our Lambda. Let's delete out these two things. I don't think we need them anymore. So we'll just say delete these. Yes. Yes. Of course we need it locally, so that one's still okay, like that we added in our gem file. And then we'll go to configuration, and then we'll go to Lambda layers. It used to be over here. Maybe it's under general configuration. Maybe it's under code. I cannot tell you how many times they've moved this UI around. They're going to change it again. If they're updating the UI, they're going to change this. Just leave it alone, folks. We'll say add layer, and we should already have our layer here. Looks like we actually have some, which is kind of nice. That's cool, but nothing that is useful for me. Custom layers, we'll go JWT version 1, which is fine. We'll say add. I think they'd have just like a library of all these, and maybe they do, and I'm just unaware of it. So now we have this in here. We'll hit deploy, and so it should have that gem, and it should not complain about it. Fingers crossed. If it complains, I'm gonna lose it. But we'll go back over here. We will refresh. Before we do that, let's just clear out our logs here so we can see what we're doing. And we'll go back over to our application. We'll refresh. We'll hit edit profile. And we'll go down below here, hit lore, and we'll go check out our logs. Refresh. We have some logs here. Yeah, that Lambda layer worked. I guess it wasn't that bad, but it really does. It like varies per language and things like that. So, but yeah, that wasn't too bad. Of course, we could have done a custom container. I actually do like doing custom containers quite often for Lambdas. Once you have a workflow, it's pretty easy. But you know, that wasn't too bad either. So we can see that there's a step where it does the pre-flight check, which is great. If we come back over here, we can see that it did the pre-flight, which was good. If we go here, the response, did it return response? We're not logging that down below anymore, right? So we did that before where we'd log it. Oh, this is the post. Yeah, so it does bring back the pre-signed URL, which is great. But why were we doing this? Oh, because we have to decode the JWT. So in here, we want to see if we decoded that data. So that's what we're looking for here. If we go down below, we now have our sub. Yay! And the sub is the Cognito user UUID. Now, the question is, should we verify this token? Because we already did it in the previous step. So I don't think we need to do it more than once. I think the last one was fine. So what we'll do is now use this as the actual identifier for our avatar. We'll go back over to our function, and in here we need to define a object key, and so that's going to be our sub. So in here we'll just say square braces, single quotations, because I assume that this is a hash. I'm not sure, but I think it's a hash, and this will be Cognito user UUID, just so we don't forget what it is. And we'll do interpolation. That's how you do it in Ruby, Cognito user ID, even though it's not highlighting it correctly. Oh, it's pound, sorry, yep. Now it should work correctly, and then we want that extension. I don't know if it passed it along. We should go back and check our data for our events. If we go back over here, it's so nice when things just work, right? And I'm looking for extension in here. Extension, so it was passed along as the body over here. I'm trying to see how we can get that out of here. because it could be uploading JSON or PNG or web PNG. We might want to put that restriction back onto our avatar or like our upload file later, but I'm trying to figure out where this is because I can't make sense of all this. It's just a bit of a mess. So we'll just say JSON beautify. We'll go over here. We'll go into our code. We'll paste it in. We'll say view tree. Nope, doesn't work. Doesn't like it. Or ChatGPT can do it. Make this JSON look nice. Thank you. It doesn't care. It doesn't complain. I'm trying to find out where the body is here. Okay. Should I be pasting my bearer token in there? Probably not. If it's smart enough to rework it. Okay, how do I just select the extension using using a Ruby hash? Okay, so that's all I wanted was data body. Yeah, but you'd have to parse it first, which is probably what I was thinking that we'd have to do. So we'll go back over here. And over here, what we can do is go down a line here. And so here we have the body hash. And we get the extension. And so that should get us the extension there. Okay. And we'll say puts object key. And I'm just going to keep doing this like this. It really is useful to output JSON. It really, really is for parsing. Because CloudWatch can ingest that into Athena and other things like that and make it a lot more readable. So you definitely want to do this as much as you can. I just haven't been doing this so far because we haven't been working with Lambdas too much in greater detail. This isn't a serverless bootcamp. I could certainly do one, as you can tell, but it's not what we planned out to do for this. We're doing Fargate. So that looks good to me there for the object key. And then the idea is that you'll have the Cognito user ID, UUID, it'll get uploaded there. And then we can just use our Cognito user ID in our app to see if it's there and display that for our user everywhere. So that is super exciting. Let's find out if this works. But we'll have to copy all this first. We'll go back over here. The problem with this code still is that this value is hard-coded because it's allowing our developer environment. Here we probably would want to also include like a comma and say like API credit. We'll worry about that when we put this into actual production. Okay, but right now we basically have to keep setting this here. Probably what we should do is set it as an environment variable, and that way we can just keep passing it along and having less problems. Again, we'll worry about that later. There's just tons of work to do, but this might trip you up down the road. But just like how we have our RDS instance, we could just like update the envar for this, is what I'm thinking here. So what we'll do is go back to our environment here. We'll give this a refresh, and we'll go to edit profile, and we'll go down here and upload lore, and we'll say open, and it goes here, and we have a 500 error, so we must have introduced some kind of mistake. Okay, we'll go here, undefined local variable name, data. Where do we have this data thing here? Whoops, data, oh, right here. So it's actually event data, so like event. Because I didn't tell it was called event, that's probably why it's confused. And so we will go back up over here and copy all this code again. We'll go back over here and we'll hit deploy. And then we'll go back over to our CRUD application, refresh. We'll hit edit profile, and we'll go ahead and upload this, and we'll hit save. We'll observe it in our code. We have a 404 here, but that's not necessarily what's gone wrong here. 404 for undefined. Why are we getting a 404 undefined? I mean, this happened when we didn't get our URL back, like when it didn't wait properly, the key upload. So what happened here? This is 500. So we ran into another 500 error. We'll go back over here, give this a refresh. Go back to the top here. We'll give it a moment. We'll give this a refresh, and we'll go to edit here. We will upload again. We'll try this again. We'll hit save, and we'll go back over to CloudWatch, and we will refresh. Come on, give me some logs. There we go. Did it work? No implicit conversion of string into integer, of course. Of course. Where is this happening? Line 27, we'll go back over to here because it's showing our lines here. Here it's having a problem. I don't remember what this is. So we'll just say puts decoded token. There must be something that we're not aware of here. I mean, we could just look this up really quickly. JWT decode. Ruby JWT to look at the Ruby implementation. Because we just want to see what it returns back for data. So here, decoded token. Oh, because it returns it as an array. All right, whatever. So what we'll do is go, well, here it has the payload and then the header. So it's going to be the second one here. I'm not sure, so we'll go back over to our payload here, and I'll just say puts decoded token. And I'm just going to take a guess that it's at 0. I don't know if we still have to do like 0 data sub, and maybe that's what it really wants, because if you looked up here, they showed it as data. It probably is data. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. And also it might be a string that we have to interpret. I don't know. So what we'll do is we'll go back over to here. We'll try this again a few times. I guess if we want to save ourselves some trouble, what we could do, just so we're not goofing around here for 1,000 years, is we can go back to our CloudWatch logs, and I could just grab this access token, wherever it is, here, right? And then I could just load it up, say IRB, require JWT, and we would just say token, like this. Okay, and then I can just decode it like this, see if it works. And so we'll say decoded token 0. And that's all it is. Okay, so that's what we need to do to get that. We'll just type exit here. And so we will go back over to our code. Well, we fixed this, so we'll just copy. We don't need to console log out or print out that decode anymore. This can get out of here. We'll go ahead and copy this. We'll go back over to our Lambda. We will update it doing Control V, of course. We'll hit deploy. And then what we'll do is we will go ahead. Like, this is a 2-hour video. People are going to be mad at me. But I don't tell you, like, this is what cloud is. You have to do this to learn cloud. It's like, you know, if I don't spend the time with you here, you're going to think that, like, oh, cloud just takes 2 seconds. Nope, it takes this long. This is what the job is. So we'll go back over here, and I just want to get rid of some of those older logs so that I'm having less of a problem here. We'll go down below, we'll delete this, and we'll go back over to our creditor application. We'll hit edit profile, we'll go ahead and upload it. We'll say lore, and it will begin to process. We will go back over here, we will refresh. We will see that there are some logs. Now what's our error? Undefined local variable method ID, because we spelt it wrong. Because in one place it was UUID, and the other place it's apparently ID. So we'll just go here and go _ID. And here I know I spelt it as UUID, so another problem. Whoops. UUID. Okay, great. We'll go up here, copy the contents of this Lambda. We will go ahead and paste it in. Whoops. Control V to paste it in. We'll hit deploy. We will try this again. I'm just going to delete out the logs so that I have less to look at. There's also like a command, like there's a open source command called AWS logs, so we can tail logs, which is kind of nice. We haven't been doing that. We'll go here and say choose file. We'll go down to lore. It will begin to upload. We'll go back to our logs. We'll refresh. Come on, logs, show up. I know you're there. There we go. We'll click into it. We'll scroll to the top. No errors. No errors. Okay, so here we have our object key. This thing's going to process out. And what we want to see is has it gone to our other S3 bucket. Because if it has, then the next thing is to get this thing to display. So we'll go down below to CRUD upload avatars. We can see that we have it here. We didn't set an object, a lifecycle thing. We wanted to do that earlier for cleanup. We couldn't do that because we needed a subfolder because we didn't know, but we needed it. But we'll go back over to buckets here, and I'm looking for our assets cruder.com. We're going to go to avatars, and we can see that it is here. So it is being served. Okay, so that means that we've solved this part. We still have one more video to do, which is actually to render it out. But for now, we'll call this quits. I'll see you in the next one. I think it will be easier because the next one is just rendering out. And then we can do that CloudFront function, which we probably should. But we could always defer it for later because I know this week's been crazy. But here, yeah, the temp directory is fine here. So, you know, make sure that we can upload an avatar. You know, there's some defects still in this thing. Some things are hard-coded, but this is good enough. We'll stop it here. Thanks for the ride. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.